What is up, everybody? I'm No Lux Given here with your afternoon snap, and every day I am breaking down my Galactus Destroyer deck here with a focus on one card in particular. Today's video is going to focus on Wolverine, which is a very cool card that I've been trying out in a variety of different Galactus lists recently, and this has been my favorite one, with Galactus and Destroyer both making great use of today's signature card. I call this clip Clone Wolf, though unfortunately because of Lemuria, I'm only able to make one additional Wolverine for a total of 2. But still, I think that's going to give me enough power to pull off a turn 6 Galactus, which is something a lot of Galactus decks cannot currently do. That will be a little bit easier next season when Nimrod comes out, but for now, the strongest way to do that is just going to be using Wolverine plus some goblins. You could play Green Goblin, though I'm not running it in this list in particular. I'm just running Hobgoblin, which is going to be strong enough here to take over the sewer system and give us priority going into turn 6, which is always super important with Galactus lists, because then you know that Galactus is going to be uninterrupted and can do his thing, so that's going to be enough for me to snap. And I didn't realize just how important priority would be here, because it's also going to disrupt some of the other things that my opponent has going on. When you blow up some unrevealed cards, they just never get to reveal, which is a really nice part of using Galactus, and we'll see just a bunch of my opponent's cards explode here and do totally nothing. We're gonna see one Wolverine get destroyed and join us in the sewer system, but the other one takes a brief visit into Lemuria, which is another really cool interaction with Wolverine and Galactus. If you play those Wolverines in one of the first 2 locations, sometimes they'll get destroyed multiple times, and that extra power is going to be important because it gives me just enough power to win this game 9-7. As a reminder, every day I am breaking down this deck, focusing on one card, so subscribe if you haven't already, and check out the previous videos if you want to see some more cool footage. I'm going to talk about Wolverine for a second, and then I'm going to show off some really cool clips, but Wolverine, I think, is here to stay in Galactus lists. I've tried him out in a bunch of different lists. I think that it's just a really good card, and especially next season when we get Nimrod as the season pass card, like I was just talking about, Wolverine is definitely going to be in a lot of those lists. I don't think you want to play Wolverine in every Galactus list, though. A lot of Galactus decks basically just try to play Shang-Chi on the final turn, often alongside Death. And for those lists, you don't really want to have priority going into the final turn, because then you yourself can get Shang-Chi'd. So Wolverine is not going to be in every Galactus deck, but I do think that he is pretty good in this one. Also makes some nice use out of Destroyer, and that's the main combo. We're going to look at that in just a second. The other thing that I wanted to bring up, which I did briefly touch on, is that Galactus destroys locations in order from left to right. And that's important when you are deciding where to place your Wolverine in the early game and where to place your Galactus. And the same rules will also apply for Nimrod next season. So if you play Wolverine in location number 1 in the leftmost location, then you can play Galactus in location 2 or 3, middle or right. It doesn't matter. Either way, you have the chance to get multiple Wolverines and you will get multiple Nimrods. But the other thing that you can do is place Wolverine in the center location, at which point you'll want to put Galactus in the leftmost location, in location number 1. Now, these aren't like concrete rules. Sometimes you will want to deviate, and part of playing Galactus is being a little bit unpredictable, so this could help you dodge Magneto or make your opponent unsure where you're actually going to set up, and sometimes that is going to be more valuable than getting an additional 2 power out of your Wolverine. I just wanted to go through what a typical game with this list would look like, though it's not exactly typical. We've got Tinker's Workshop and Titan kind of messing around with some things, though this could still curve out normally if this was like Wolverine into Wave into a turn 4 Galactus, and it would basically be the same thing. A really typical curve, though, is going to be Wolverine into Electro, into Hobgoblin, into Galactus, finishing off with Destroyer. Unfortunately for this one, I do not have priority, so my opponent's Shuri is going to go off here, but we do still get to activate Galactus, and also kind of unlucky, Wolverine doesn't take a visit into Titan, so it's only going to be 8 power, but we can pump that up a little bit more with Destroyer, and basically Destroyer is like just an additional 15 power here, which is pretty important. It destroys Galactus, which takes away 2, but it also destroys Wolverine, so that 2 gets added back. And it's really, really important for this game because this one's going to be close. My opponent just got a Shuri off. If they snapped here, I'd probably have to consider retreating because they're going to be able to put a ton of power on the board, and I'm not running Shang-Chi in this deck, but my opponent doesn't know that. They were actually going to play a Typhoid Mary, which, as you can see now, the board is 22 to 23. It's very, very close. And I'm going to finish this game off with Hobgoblin and Daredevil, which is 9 power from the Hobgoblin plus 4 power from the Daredevil. I think that's basically as much power as I can hope to add on the board in the final turn. And let's see how my opponent does. Like I said, this one is very, very close, but I think definitely speaks to the strength of the deck. And I did do the math before I played out this final turn, by the way, to see that I would, in fact, be victorious in the case of a Red Skull here, even if Red Skull had an additional 2 power from the Wakandan embassy at the start of the game, like Typhoid Mary does here. But still, I think a really, really good showing for the deck. The fact that I was able to beat a shuried up Typhoid Mary plus a Red Skull and just have so much power from Destroyer plus Wolverine. One location where this deck really shines is Rickety Bridge, and the other day we looked at Death's Domain with Armor, which is similar, and Wolverine can do similar things in Death's Domain, but in Rickety Bridge, we can do some pretty awesome stuff, and we're going to look at 2 games with Rickety Bridge right now. In this first one, the basic plan with Rickety Bridge, I'll talk about that for a second. You just play Spider-Man there on turn 5, blowing up the bridge and allowing Galactus to take it over as the only card, and your opponent won't be able to play there on the final turn. Now, unfortunately for this one, Sokovia discards our Spider-Man, so I won't be able to go for the easy Spider-Man Galactus win in that location, but there's still a chance to do something pretty cool here. In order to make that cool stuff happen, all you gotta do is clear the bridge. So I play Daredevil on the Rickety Bridge, hoping that that will destroy Wolverine and get it to one of the other locations. And even if that didn't work, we could still play another card there the next few turns, and all we gotta do is get Wolverine off the bridge before turn 6. Once we do that, all that we have to do to win the game is Galactus on the Rickety Bridge with Wolverine on the field, and Wolverine will take it over. Even if my opponent plays a card there on the final turn, as long as it's not something like Armor or Professor X, then Wolverine will show up and everything will die, and then Wolverine will come back one final time to win the game. So pretty straightforward stuff. That's what we're going to see here. I'll jump ahead for a second as we give my opponent the Hobgoblin, and then on this final turn, my opponent is going to move over Nightcrawler. Galactus will destroy the other 2 locations, including destroy Wolverine. We'll see if we get that lucky flip, but you can already tell it doesn't matter. We don't need it. I snap just for fun there at the end, and my opponent is totally thrown off by the turn 6 Galactus to take over the game, and Wolverine, like I said, will come back in it there for those final points. Let's look at one last game to wrap this video up, and this one is a doozy. I'm gonna go with turn 2 Wolverine into turn 3 Wave, which kind of telegraphs that Galactus is coming. So my opponent is going to get the better of me. I run out the Galactus and my opponent has the Arrow. And that's going to mean that my Galactus is totally neutered, can't use it here, and we're in kind of a tricky spot. Now, I do think that I can still win a location with Professor X. I'm going to play that in New York. I think that my opponent is probably just going to drop some stuff into Lockjaw. That's exactly what happens, and this works out very, very well for me because Reality Stone flips location number 2 into Rickety Bridge, which means that everything that they play there is going to get destroyed, and we can potentially win this game, but it's still tricky to win it. Let me know if you see the play down in the comments below. Typically now, how this game would go is just differential. So everything in Rickety Bridge will die. We'll have +3 in New York, and my opponent already has +9 in the Kiln. Plus they can add more to that location this turn with Sunspot. So it's really not looking great for me, but there is a 1 in 4 chance to win. Did you see it? What we have to do is hope that Destroyer kills this Wolverine and that Wolverine lands in the Rickety Bridge. But that's not it. The Wolverine has to die again at the end of turn and land in the Rickety Bridge again. Let's see if it can do it. Well, I wouldn't be showing you this clip if I missed. There we go. Rickety Bridge plus Wolverine totally steals a win there. That's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'm No Luck's Given. Peace. Means that we should be able to win that location. So I just have to get Rickety Bitch.